Hello, you are listening to the application guidance that has been pre-recorded specifically for the 2024 Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund's Technical Assistance Application Cycle. My name is Barb Pierce, DED Housing Specialist for the Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund. On behalf of the department, thank you for taking time to review this guidance. This recording will be kept on the Trust Fund webpage until next year's cycle begins. Applicants should have already viewed the recorded pre-application guidance, as topics discussed there are not going to be repeated in this workshop. The pre-application guidance gave detailed information for filling out Form 1, which is nearly identical to both the technical assistance pre-application and the full application. If you are viewing this pre-recorded guidance as part of planning for the next cycle, I just wanted to take a moment to bring your attention to the Trust Fund's webpage that also has a How to Apply Amplifund Application User Guide. Please review this. It will help you to learn how to enter into the Amplifund portal, to set up and register for the portal, or to add users in order to be ready to apply for an application. Also, there's a link there to the current cycle's application guidelines. Those will remain on the web page until the next cycle begins, and it is highly recommended that you review those in detail as you plan for your project. Additionally, you can go down to one of the application boxes and you may download the PDF of the current cycle's application. Some of the questions may change from time to time or from cycle to cycle, but for the most part, you will have a very good foundation in reviewing that of the types of questions and information you need to have gathered for your next application. This is a typical award cycle once the application has been submitted. So applications that have been submitted are scored and reviewed, and then a notice of award will come out with an email notification and press release. This usually takes place sometime after July 31st. Non-selected applications will also receive an email notification. Then the DED housing representative will schedule a contract review meeting with the awardee. The performance plan will be reviewed during the contract review meeting, and both parties will execute the contract through the DocuSign process. Once a contract has been executed, the awardee can access the award within Amplifund, and they will be able to begin the special conditions phase. During special conditions phase, there are some required special conditions items that are described in the contract that have to be submitted to DED for approval. There is a date that will be included in the contract for the special conditions to be submitted by. This is typically in December of the award year. Once special conditions have been approved by DED, the award is able to reach release of funds. It's very important for awardees to remember that no costs can be incurred on that project before a release of funds letter has been received. Once that release of funds letter has been received, a project may incur costs and begin to submit payment requests. Here is a list of some additional resources you may want to take a look at. Again, the pre-application recorded guidance should be viewed by every applicant. Also, the application guidelines need to be reviewed. In fact, there's been new application guidelines versions that have been uploaded as late as March 4th. So you can check out the record of change, which is on the last page of that document, in order to know whether any of the changes affect your type of project. There's also a frequently asked questions module found on the Trust Fund's webpage. You can click into it and you may submit a question, and a housing program representative will be in touch with you to answer that question. But also, new frequently asked questions will be added. A date will be shown as to when it was added. These questions are divided by general questions and by housing type. And if there are any technical assistance questions that come in, there will be a technical assistance category as well. There's a supplement slide deck that can also answer some questions, both general and housing project type related or technical assistance related. You might want to review that for any helpful information. And an open office hours slide deck will be added, and this is of course added under the training and workshop section of the trust fund webpage. And if any slides are used during an open office hours, they will be included under the training and workshops following the open office hours. One of the housing priorities for 2024 is financial assistance for nonprofits engaged in housing development. They may request funding to support one of the following activities: an organizational capacity building, strategic planning, housing study funding, staff training for housing development activities. The application will have these activities listed in it, and you may apply for one or more of these activities when fulfilling your application. When filling out the technical assistance application, please refer to Section 10 of the application guidelines. This has been written specific to the technical assistance application and the different parts within the application. An applicant should be able to refer to that as they step through the application to get additional information and details as they write their application. Form 1 of the technical assistance application was covered in the pre-application's recorded guidance. The information on this slide is useful for filling out Form 2 of the technical assistance application, and it is found in Section 10 of the application guidelines. Now, the maximum that can be requested for a technical assistance award is $50,000. The amount needed or needing to be requested will depend upon the typical cost to fulfill an eligible activity or activities that are selected in the application. The applicant will select the activities that they are requesting funding for, and there are 6 choices for eligible activities in the application. More than one activity may be selected. Please refer to this list, also found in Section 10 of the application guidelines, when completing the performance plan within your application. This list specifically has typical expenses for the types of activities and will help you when filling out your performance plan goals. If awarded, expenses entered into Ample Fund will have to identify the performance plan goal that they are related to as part of the payment request process. Form 2 of the application will have a place where you will do a project description summary. This summary will provide reviewers with a snapshot view of your proposed project. Please strive to give a clear understanding of your project scope. It is recommended to address each of these bullet points that are shown here and also listed in Section 10 of the application guidelines in order to create a strong project description summary. Also on Form 2 of the application is an organization description summary. Please refer to this list, also found in Section 10 of the application guidelines, and address each of these items in your organization description summary. This is an opportunity to explain the unique aspects of your applicant organization and its ability to carry out the proposed project, and also to describe why trust fund support is needed in order to accomplish it. The Performance Plan Goals section of the Technical Assistance application is a very important part of your application. Each goal name should clearly align with an eligible activity that has been selected for this application. Each goal will include an estimated cost for completing. Each goal will give a description and list the funding sources, include any trust fund request and other sources that will be used for this particular activity. Each goal will describe the typical expenses that are related to the goal and that an applicant must request trust fund to support. Be sure to refer to the list of eligible activities that are covered in Section 10, which also includes typical expenses when you are filling out your goals under the Performance Plan Goals section. Here's an example of a performance plan that was written to address the eligible activity of staff training and education. This particular goal name is staff training. It has an estimated cost of $2,400. And then the description of the activity is giving the description of sending one staff person to a class titled Housing Development 101. This is an in-person class hosted by Grow America, and the class will be completed by December 2024. That's a very well-rounded description because it gives an actual class name, an actual class host, and also gives the timing of when that class will be completed. Be sure that the classes that are being selected to be paid for by trust fund are happening within the contract period. Also, under the description area, you will be asked to identify any funding sources. This might be trust fund only, but you will put down then NAHTF. But also, perhaps you are going to use some of the applicant's resources. Maybe there is a staff training budget that is also going to contribute towards this, but wasn't enough to cover all of the training and education expenses that a applicant organization would like to fulfill in the next 2 years. Lastly, you'll be asked to describe the typical expenses related to the goal. So these are expenses that you hope to have reimbursed by using the trust fund award. So these will often be for staff training, typically registration fees and traveling fees. If you have an idea of the cost, that's always helpful, but be sure they add up to the same amount as you have put in the estimated cost so that the performance plan goal is very concise and understood. The space has been provided for 7 goals within the performance plan section of your application. We are asking that you complete as many goals as is needed to describe the project activities and the goals that are needed to successfully complete each of those activities. Keep the goals concise and measurable and aligned with an activity, and you will have a very strong performance plan. Just after inputting the performance plan goals, there is one other field to be filled in, and that is the total project cost funded by all sources. So this is going to be the total cost for the project, whether funded by trust fund and other sources or just trust fund. So for example, if you are requesting $20,000 in trust fund and have no other sources listed in any of the performance plan costs, then you would be just putting in $20,000 as your total project cost. But if you are requesting, say, $50,000 in trust fund assistance for a technical assistance project, and you are committing some match, and you are also pulling on some leverage sources, maybe another award you have received from a non-DED source. All sources and the costs that are going to be paid for by all sources would be included in your total project cost funded. DED wants to provide technical assistance awards to projects that will ultimately increase a nonprofit's capacity to make an impact on affordable housing development in their service area. It's also important to DED that trust fund dollars are spent in support of quality projects and qualified organizations that have demonstrated an ability to be successful or have laid a solid foundation along with community support in which to grow. To assist DED in understanding how an organization will use the trust fund award to carry out a successful project, the application includes the questions that are showing on this screen. Answers to these questions should not be repeating information that was already provided in the organization description summary. You will want to try to give specific examples and concise answers that demonstrate a capacity to carry out the project or a desire to grow, or will demonstrate that the organization has a solid foundation for which to support whatever activities are being requesting trust fund support of. For example, how will successful completion of the proposed project help create new units or improve existing units? So is the organization new to housing activities? Explain that if you are, and that you're trying to grow the ability to start more housing programs. And explain how this award will assist in that growth. Also, explain how the particular organization is interacting with the area it serves. For example, are you a leader in convening and collaborating with other area organizations? Give examples of this. Share examples of how community support has been used in other projects you're involved in, or in the goals that your organization carries out, or specifically for this project. And also, if there are any new long-term financial needs that are going to be supported by the trust fund, such as a new hire used to create more capacity to build housing programs, you need to give an explanation as to how the new hire salary will be covered after the end of the trust fund's contract period. And if applicable to your project, provide an explanation if your proposed project has a larger vision to it and it expects trust fund to be requested again in future cycles. An applicant is asked to describe their organization's policies and processes for internal controls and financial management. This can be a general summary of the staff roles, the chain of authority, and the responsibilities related to financial management. Some examples of financial management policies are listed here on this slide, as well as some examples of internal controls. The applicant will also be asked to upload the following financial documentation: the most recent balance sheet and an income and expense statement of the recent fiscal year. These financials should be board approved or approved by the authorized individual. If the performance plan that has been filled out in the application has shown that other sources other than the trust fund will be used to complete the technical assistance project in addition to trust fund, then the applicant will need to show this amount as either a cash match commitment, which is entered on the project information section of the application, or they will need to show it as leverage. The total leverage amount is entered in Form 2. An applicant may also be showing these other sources as a combination of both match and leverage that is being used to help fund the technical assistance project. Leverage, again, are other sources other than match that are being put into a technical assistance project during an open contract period. These may be applicants' operating funds, special project funds, or non-DED grants that are unrestricted and used for this proposed activity. Cash match is not included in this amount, and a brief description of the leverage sources is requested in the application. Again, cash match and leverage are both not required in order to receive a technical assistance award. The cash match commitment is entered in the project information page. And if a cash match is committed, the applicant will be expected to provide source documentation and proof of payment for expenses paid with their cash match. If committing cash match, a cash match documentation form must be downloaded from the trust fund webpage, completed on applicant's letterhead, and then uploaded to the application. This is an example of what the trust fund's budget will look like once it's completed in the application. There is only one budget line activity. That activity should be named technical assistance. Some common mistakes when making the trust fund budget are folks have put the match as a separate line item. This should not happen. The match is added as technical assistance on the technical assistance line item. Also, do not add any of your separate goals as line items. Do not add in other expenses. We are only asking for one line item, and that's technical assistance. It should include the amount of the trust fund and the amount of the match only. You will be listing your leverage sources, so your other sources that are not trust fund sources that you are going to use for completing some of the activities you may be requesting in your application. You will list those within the application itself, but they do not go on this trust fund budget. Now, an applicant is welcome to upload a complete project budget with all sources and all uses detailed. And this is done as an applicant-specific upload at the end of Form 2, just following the required financial documentation that you will be uploading. To create the budget, you'll enter the budget module of the application. You'll first see that the revenue budget has been filled in. The $60,000 has been pulled from the project information page where you indicated an award request of $50,000 and a cash match commitment of $10,000. Once you fill in the expense side of the budget, then the total overall budget will be zero, and it must be zero in order to be an accurate budget. You'll start by clicking the plus symbol next to the category Technical Assistance. You click on that and the name needs to be filled in. That's going to say Technical Assistance. Please just name it the category name. And the direct cost is going to be the amount of trust fund request plus any cash match. So in this example, there's a trust fund request of $50,000 and a match of $10,000. So direct cost is $60,000. Since there is some cash match, it's identified as non-grant funded here. This is not to be confused with leverage. Only the cash match commitment is entered here. So since this one has a cash match commitment, we're going to say yes. That opens a place for you to insert the cash match commitment. In this example, it's $10,000. Now those two will add up. The grant funded and the cash match adds up to total budgeted of $60,000. You always make sure that the dollar is the grade area. If you were to click percentage, it changes the cash match into a percent. Please do not enter cash match as a percent. It needs to just be entered as a dollar amount. Now you can click create. And now you can see that the grant funded request is $50,000. The cash match commitment is $10,000 for a total budgeted amount of $60,000. And you can see the total overall budget cost now is balanced with a 0. You can mark as complete or save and continue and come back. But this is how your technical assistance budget should look. And please remember not to do any of the common mistakes that were mentioned in the earlier slide. The housing team wanted to share a few ways that you can make your application stand out. First, be sure to name the application correctly. There's been assistance given on this in the application guidelines, section 8.3. Also, you can see an example here. It's as simple as putting 2024 NAHTF, entering the name of the applicant organization, and then TA, which stands for Technical Assistance. And that's all there is to it. Be sure to name your full application in this manner. Also, build the budget as instructed in the 2 slides previous to this one. And review the application guidelines, review all recorded guidance, review the 2024 Trust Fund frequently asked questions to check for anything under the general topic and if there's anything under technical assistance. Also use a proofreader to catch any mistakes in your application before you submit. Give consistent answers throughout and give concise answers. A few last general tips. Remember to save often. If you walk away from the AmpliFund portal and you're working on an application and you have forgotten to click save, it will time out. So you want to save often so you don't lose anything you have input. Also, follow instructions that are on the application itself. We recommend you download a final copy of the completed application for your file. And if you have trouble when clicking the mark as complete and it's not allowing you to proceed, you should be able to see when you scroll up the questions that need your attention, as there will be a red font message next to them. A lot of times there's a need for you to enter a 0 into the numerical field that may not be applying to your project, or you may need to enter not applicable if you are not filling in a required narrative question. The application is due May 9th at 5 o'clock Central Time. It is highly recommended you do not wait until the last day. If there's a technical assistance problem, we want to have enough time to work with you or to work with Amplifund to get that resolved. It's just really important to try to schedule yourself to be submitting a day or two ahead. Also, please join the mailing lists. You can do so by going to opportunity.nebraska.gov, and at the bottom of every web page is the Join Our Mailing List link. You click on that. Look for the Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund under the housing programs list, and be sure to check mark that so that you receive any updates about the application cycle in your email. There's other opportunities there that you can be clicking on as well to receive emails on. There will be virtual open office hours on March 14th and April 11th. Those who have submitted pre-applications may register. You can also submit questions to the Q&A portal that's on the Trust Fund webpage. The open office hours will focus on questions specific to completing the full application. If you have project-specific questions, we urge you to set up a meeting with your housing program representative to discuss your project. If you are having any issues with setting up an applicant portal in Amplifund, or you are having glitches within the Amplifund portal while you are completing your application, please use one of these ways to contact Amplifund customer support directly. You can call, you can do an online chat, or you can email. If you do email, we recommend CCing your housing program representative so they're aware of your issues. But Amplifund's customer support is there to help you when you are experiencing troubles using the Amplifund system. This concludes the pre-recorded guidance for the technical assistance full application. If you have any questions, please contact a housing program representative. These slides and the presentation will be housed on the Trust Fund's webpage under Training and Workshops. They will remain there until the beginning of the next application cycle. This concludes the pre-recorded guidance for the technical assistance full application. If you have any questions, please contact a housing program representative. These slides and the recording will remain on the Trust Fund webpage under Trainings and Workshops until the beginning of the next application cycle. On behalf of the department, thank you for taking time to listen.